What's in Emmanuel Macron's in-tray for France? Emmanuel Macron has pulled off one of the most spectacular political bets in French history, winning power without any mainstream party behind him at the age of 39 and without ever having held elected office previously. But that might be the easiest part for the ex-economy minister who insists he is neither from the left nor the right. Once the champagne corks fall and he is inaugurated, probably on May 14th, Mr. Macron predicted last week he can expect no honeymoon. So what will be his first moves? Picking the Prime Minister and Cabinet. Mr. Macron has set himself a tall order of bringing in figures from the governing left to the Gaullists under one roof, as well as from civil society. Half the government will be women, he pledged. For now, we know he has picked his Prime Minister, but hasn't named the person. A string of names from the left, right and center have been mooted. The shortlist is said to include Richard Ferrand, the reformist socialist who became the Secretary-General of Mr. Macron's then March movement, as well as two women, Anne-Marie Idrac, ex-head of France's national rail operator SNCF, and Sylvie Goulard, centrist MLP. On the right, Edouard Philippe, centre-right mayor of Le Havre close to moderate conservative ex-Prime Minister Alain Juppé, is cited. Another centre-right possibility is Xavier Bertrand, 52, president of the Northern France region. However, Macron aides have warned him against taking anyone who could end up swiftly turning into a rival with presidential ambitions of their own, a temptation he knows all too well. Another possibility is François Bayrou, centrist leader of the Modem party and a former presidential candidate who backed Mr. Macron early in the campaign. However, he is anathema to many on the right, and could thus dissuade many to join the Macron bandwagon. On the reformist left, Gerard Collomb, the powerful socialist mayor of Lyon and a staunch Macron supporter, is a runner, as is Jean-Yves Le Drian, the outgoing defense minister in President François Hollande's government. Win a parliamentary majority. With the presidency in the bag, Mr. Macron could yet end up a lame duck hamstrung by a government of cohabitation if his fledgling End March onwards movement fails to win a parliamentary majority in legislative elections on June 11 and 18. French voters have traditionally been legitimists in converting the presidential win into a parliamentary majority. But his movement has no experience of fighting what is, in effect, 577 micro-elections in each parliamentary constituency. The candidates of two mainstream parties, the Socialists and centre-right Republicans, crashed out of the presidential race in round one and their groups are deeply weak and divided. But the jury is out over whether Mr. Macron can woo senior figures from the both sides, particularly if they are obliged to leave their party and run under his banner. A Quán Trà Sؤr's 1-point poll out on Monday suggested the voter intentions for parliamentary elections place in March on 24 to 26%, just ahead of the centre-right, on 22%, and the Front National, on 21 to 22%. Jean-Luc Mélenchon's far-left France Insoumise Unbowed France is on 13 to 15%. But 69% of French think that Mr. Macron may not muster a parliamentary majority. Set the right presidential tone. Outgoing socialist François Hollande promised to be a normal president and ended up the least popular in French history, currently on as low as 3%. His predecessor, Nicolas Sarkozy, was accused of demeaning the function with a brash, hyper-presidential style. Mr. Macron wants to strike a loftier, Jupiterian tone as a president who presides leaving the government that governs. He will instead focus on long-term objectives in growth, taxation, pensions, education, security, and cleaner politics, whilst leaving the government to deal with the day-to-day running of the country. Mr. Macron will have a chance to work on his presidential stature at the upcoming NATO summit on May 25, where Donald Trump will be present, and the G7 in Sicily on May 26 to 7. His first presidential trip could be to review troops in Mali, where they are tackling an Islamist insurgency. Moralize French politics. Mr. Macron has promised to start his presidency with a new law to clean up French politics after a campaign bogged down by sleaze and with French skepticism of its politicians at a record low. Labor reform. Mr. Macron has pledged to push through decrees this summer, thus bypassing Parliament, to simplify France's restrictive labor code by letting negotiations on working hours take place at company level and placing the ceiling on dismissal compensation. This could set him on collision course with unions and lead to major street protests. Europe. François Hollande took up office promising to renegotiate the European Fiscal Compact and strong-arm Germany away from austerity. He failed. Mr. Macron, who says he wants to refound Europe, must be seen to make headway with Angela Merkel. He wants a 5-year roadmap to endow Eurozone with a real budget and a proper Europe of 27 on matters of environment, industry and handling migration. He wants to agree to a 5,000-strong European border force. Mr. Macron will visit Mrs. Merkel shortly after his inauguration. Terrorism. Mr. Macron has pledged not to lift the state of emergency in place in France in the wake of a string of terror attacks. It is due to end in July. By this summer, Mr. Macron wants to create a permanent HQ for domestic security operations, intelligence and the fight against terrorism, and a special unit dedicated to intelligence regarding ISIL.